Hi there, Natalie with you today with a new process video for Paintfresh Studio. And today I'm going to show you a layout that is actually came together super easily, and it's going to be a lot of fun to put together. So the inspiration for this page is actually the frames from the Merry Everything paper. This is a paper on the A side has all the little leaves that are in blue and red, but the B side has all these frames, and the goldish kind of brownish tone matches the color of that my daughter's wearing in the picture, so it just caught my eye. And I really love working with frames. I love working with paper design. I love the designs of the papers and thinking, what can I do with it? And these frames are just screaming my name. So I want to use them to create a focal point, kind of the part of my title for my layout. So all I'm doing right now is just gonna take all the frames. I want to get one frame of each of the colors that you see here. So it just happens, and literally it just happened that the colors that are here, I have a kind of that goldish tone, a red, a green, a blue, and a pink, and that's 5 frames. And they form the word Merry, as in Merry Christmas. So I'm going to use that to create my title. So all I'm doing right now is just, once I fussy cut the frames, I'm just going to kind of build my idea. And like I said, I was thinking about creating a banner of frames, but instead I'm going to just kind of lay them as if they were crooked on the background. And that's why I brought my cutting mat, because it has that 12 by 12 area defined, so it helps me get an idea of what I want to create. So now that I have my idea kind of working in my brain, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I take away all the white that's in the background of the frames. I want to keep them really plain. I want to have that delicate edge of the frame show. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just using my X-Acto knife and a ruler just to clean the inside of the frame. Now I want to take all the white pieces. I kind of struggled a little bit with the idea if I wanted to keep it a little piece of like that stripe line that looks like washi tape, and I decided on keeping it. I think it adds to the charm of the frame, but I just want to get rid of all the white parts. I want to be careful. I do want to keep the embellishments that come in the frame. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna, like I said, I'm using my X-Acto knife just to take care of the white part, and then I'm gonna use a pair of scissors just to detail the inside of the frames. And by that I mean, for example, in the string lines and the string lights, I'm just fussy cutting all the white pieces around the lights so that I have the lights just hanging without any of the white kind of negative paper in the background. So now that I have them ready, outside of the camera, I work with a few of the papers just to think on what was gonna make this title stand out. So I had those were the 3 candidates, but I really went for the Holiday Walk paper, and that's the paper that has the map with all the holiday motifs on the A side, but the B side is the blue, light blue with the white kind of a floral print on it, and I love the fact that everything stands out on the background. And I've already kind of set up the idea that I have with the frames. Like I said, I want them to be just kind of stacked on, like in a messy way, but kind of in a horizontal line. So what I need to do right now is I need to create more of clean canvas so that everything that I put on these frames stand out. So what I'm gonna use to create that, and all I'm gonna do is kind of ghost the background a little bit, kind of like I said, tame the background. And all I'm gonna do for this is add some white acrylic paint. You can use Yeso if you have it. It works the same way for this particular technique. And all I'm doing is just adding some of the paint. You're gonna see that I'm using a brush that has really, I'm gonna say stiffer bristles. And what I mean by that is, when you have a watercolor brush, the bristles are really soft, but this one is more of an acrylic paint brush, and it has a sturdier bristle, so I'm able to fan the paint better on the paper, and I won't have those harsh lines. So all I'm doing, and I think you've seen Missy do it, she uses her fingers. I do use my fingers too, but I just like having the brush and just kind of extending the colors, creating, think of a shadow effect on the background. And all I do literally is take a little bit of paint. I don't add lots, just a little bit, and just squeeze. You're gonna see how I squish my brush so that the bristles completely fan out and they don't leave me the marks, but instead create this kind of ghosting effect on the page. So I'm gonna make sure that I cover the horizontal line where the frames are gonna go, and I'm gonna extend it a bit at the bottom where the picture is gonna sit. I don't want to cover the entire page, just the area where the frames and the picture are gonna sit, because I want to make sure that that area is clean, so everything that sits on top of it is gonna stand out. So while my paint dries, I'm gonna start working on the title. And for my title, I'm gonna use the Heather alpha dies and also the Leah Ornate alpha dies, and I'm going to use just the caps because I want the letters to be big and bold to actually stand out inside the frames. So you're going to see that I'm using the Leah Ornate for the M, the R, and the Y, just because they happen to be at the edges of the little row of frames that I'm working, and then also in the middle, so it gives me a nice transition between ornate, plain, ornate, plain. It just kind of works the zigzag idea that I like for my layouts. What I did is I cut them twice, one out of glitter gold paper and the second one of really heavy white cardstock. And my idea is I want to have just the gold frame of the letter or the gold outline outside or on top of the white letter. And you're gonna see, like right now I'm just working on how everything is gonna sit on my page, and my idea is I want to bring color onto this letter. So I'm just gonna work on making sure that my idea actually looks well, because sometimes when I create a project, I have an idea and I'm like, okay, let's see if it works. And sometimes I film it, sometimes I don't. It's one of those times that I film, so I'm just making sure that along the way it actually looks like the way I'm thinking it. Just sometimes it works that way. So I like the way it looks, but like I said, I think I need to add color to the letters to just make them stand out. So what I'm going to use for this is actually the Pinkfresh Studio crisp inks, and these premium crisp inks are a must. They're perfect, they're easy to work with, the colors match the collections to a T, so if you can afford them, it's a great investment. So what I want to do is I want to create kind of an ombre effect on the letters. So for example, for the red, I'm starting with the lightest color red, and just gonna kind of cover the entire letter. I'm using my stencil brush. I'm just using ink blending brushes for this, and this actually happened to be makeup brushes that I got as a bonus when I bought a present, and I love them. Works the same. I also have the Altenew ones. I also have the Picket Fence one, and they all work great. I just had these at hand and I love them. They were the first ones that I have at hand, and they're the ones that I use with the Pinkfresh Studio ink, so I have them kind of in the same box. It just makes it easier for me to just bring them out and everything work together. So I've added the first coat of the lighter color ink to the entire letter, making sure that I concentrate most of the color towards the bottom of the letter. And then I'm going to come in with the second color. I'm going to use I think I use for the red, I use the 4 colors, but for the other ones I'm going to use around 3 to 4 of different tones, just to create that gradation of color. And I'm going to go from darkest at the bottom to lightest at the top, and not just, all I'm doing is just adding the different shades of the darker tones towards the bottom of the letter, just to add that gradation to create that ombre effect. And you're gonna see, for example, my Y is done. I love what it looks like. And then all I'm gonna do is just use some glue just to add the gold outline on top of the letter, and that's just gonna make it stand out. The gold's gonna bring that kind of glittery, shimmery feel of the holidays. And I love the fact that the red, it doesn't completely match the color, but it is gonna complement it enough for this layout, and it's just gonna make it stand out. It's gonna make it very festive. So all I'm gonna do is gonna take my time creating this. This took me a while, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna show you most of it until I didn't realize that I had killed the battery of the camera. So I think when I hit the blue one or the green one, the camera stopped, and I just continued working until I realized that it had stopped. But it worked the same way. Like I said, I started with I have the ink set, so it's easier to create the colors this way, the gradation. So all I did is I start with the lightest color, and I tried to cover the entire letter, adding more of the color towards the bottom of the letter, which is what I want to create, that darker tone. And for example, for the pink, I actually pulled inks from 2 different sets. I am using ballet slippers for the entire letter just because it has that pinkish tone, but then I'm gonna come with a little bit of coral reef just to add some of the kind of that that peachy tone that the pink has at the bottom. And then after that, I'm gonna finish with a little bit of apricot just to give it more of that orangey tone. And that is all the art is gonna take. And then I'm gonna use, for the green, I actually used the same thing. I started with the, I think it was pear, and then I moved and I finished with evergreen. I just try to mix the colors so that I can get the closest that I could to the color of the frame. I don't mind if the colors are a little bit off, especially with the blue was a little bit hard to get to the color, but I don't mind it. Like I said, it's just because when you see the enamel dots and the rest of the collection, there's also a darker blue, so I was able to pull some of that into this layout. And for the gold, and it's about now you're gonna see that the camera actually stopped without me realizing. My apologies for that. But when it came to the gold, I used a little bit of the yellows, and I added a little bit of apricot just to make it a bit of on the orange side. So that is all it took. It took me a while to color the letters, and I make sure to set them aside so the ink completely set before I continue working. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna make sure that I add some foam adhesive behind the frames. I want to make sure that the frames stand out. I don't want them to sit flat on the layout. I want to create and be able to see the shadow in between the paper and the frame. That's why I actually cut the inside of the frame so that I have that addition of a dimension onto the layout. So you're gonna see that I'm just adding the foam adhesive. I have my frames ready. All of them I have foam adhesive behind them. All I'm gonna do right now is just kind of put them back into place, and I'm gonna take a while. I play with a few of the configurations. I know that I want my frames to be slanted in the horizontal line. It just was a matter of creating kind of a nice movement on the frames. I did not want them to cover each other. I want them to touch each other, but I don't want them to completely what do you call it, interlap, like, you know, hide pieces of it. So it took me a while just to play with them. I took it off camera because I had so many ideas, and you know, sometimes when you have ideas, things just start looking a little bit muddly. So took it off camera, clean it up, you know, play with some ideas until I was happy with it. And then this is pretty much how they're gonna stay. Now what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that also the letters are at the same level, and what I mean by that is I want to make sure that they stand out. So I'm going to add some foam adhesive so that they all, when they sit in the middle of the frame, they actually pop from the page, so they create a shadow behind them. And you're gonna see how nice they look just because that gold little outline just make them pop on the page. So my background and my title are pretty much done. I think that brings plenty of embellishment to the page. I'm also gonna add more embellishment, but I love the fact that the title is bold. There's kind of a rainbow on it, which I love, and there's lots of color and some bling, which is great. So now for my picture, this is, like I said, these are my kids, my 2 kids and my baby, and this is pretty much what we'll be wearing for the past 10 months here in Canada. And I live in Toronto. We're under lockdown again, so that means that we won't see our family for Christmas, and we are probably living in pajamas and sweatpants for the past 10 months, and probably for the next 2 months too, because we are under lockdown until mid-January. So I took a picture of the kids as they were dressed in front of the tree. That's gonna be our Christmas card this year, and it's going virtual to my family in Ecuador. So I'm gonna use it I want to document it. So like I said, the idea for the color for the frame came from the sweater my daughter's wearing. And going back to the layout, one of the things that actually caught my eye is the little movement of the string of lights on the R. And I was lucky that my pack of ephemera actually had they were attached to each other, 2 sets of the string lights, because you can find them in the ephemera pack. So I was able to extend the look of DR just to kind of go through the entire row of frames. So I also added, if you're gonna see the ones on the right, those comes from the scrapbook.com exclusive ephemera, and the ones on the left at the left also come from, I think is the puffy stickers, also from the scrapbook.com puffy stickers, and those are available exclusively there. After that, just to complete my title, I'm gonna bring one of the puffy word stickers, and it's just gonna read Merry Memories. And instead of adding the dot for the I, I'm gonna actually add a star. I backed my picture with one of the cards. This collection has a set of 3x4 cards that you can use for your December daily or your pocket pages if you create so. And just because they had the same color as the sweater. And I'm bringing one of the tags just so I can follow or continue that idea of kind of the crooked frames. I just added the tag a little bit of an angle behind the picture just to follow the same idea. I'm just gonna add a small cluster of ephemera and stickers at the bottom of the picture. So I am adding the little label, comes from the cardstock sticker, the chipboard flare with the little house, and then that joy filled daisies from the puffy sticker. And then all I'm gonna do right now is just add some enamel dots, kind of color matching. I want to make sure that there's gold on the gold, blue on the blue, green on the green. And one of the things that I did is I went through the 2 puffy stickers that I have. I have the scrapbook.com and also the ones that come in the collection, and they all had the same little flower cluster as in the frames. So I'm just gonna add them on top of the frames just to create more or bring more interest to the frames. After that, you're gonna see that I'm just playing with the enamel dots. I want to, like I said, I want to color code it. I want to bring more color. I also added a few of them to the bottom part of the cluster just to bring some attention there. And the last thing you're gonna see me do right now is I'm gonna add my lines of journal right underneath the word memories. I had the perfect space there to add it. I am gonna add a piece of this is shimmery embroidery thread. I have really thick one, so I'm gonna add my bow in the little hole of the tag using that thread. I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna draw some lines, add my journaling underneath the word memories. And to finish the layout, I wanted to bring some of that white that I have on the background and give me the idea of snow, because we already have snow here in Toronto. So I'm just gonna bring some white ink and just splatter it around the layout. If you don't have white ink, you go ahead and use some of the acrylic paint and dilute it with some water and just add some splatters of it. And I'm also gonna use a little bit of gold ink just to bring more of that gold tone that I have in the frame and in the outline of each one of the letters. And that's about it. I love how this turned out. It was so much fun to put together. Again, started with an idea and I just wanted to have kind of a rainbow for my layout. And I hope you tried. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a super Merry Christmas and a blessed 2021. And I hope to see you next year. Take care, guys.